Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Pros Pro Bono Meets the Clients. And today it's a real pleasure to have with us Mary Ann Flyer, or is it Fleer?
It's Fleer.
It's
Yes.
Fleer, okay. Well, that's interesting because American names with a foreign origin are often kind of Americanized. So I expected it to be Flyer, but anyway, okay, Fleer, which I imagine is Dutch, German origin.
It's Dutch. Yeah.
Okay, right. So Mary Ann Fleer from Treetops Collective, which is an organization which Marianne is going to explain to us now, with whom we've worked quite closely over the past year or so. So, welcome to the program, Marianne.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Glad to be here.
And tell us a little bit about what Treetops Collective does. I know you have a special role with women and women from different backgrounds around the world. So, tell us a little bit about what you do. Who are the people you're trying to serve? And what are the solutions that you bring to their problems and their situations?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yes, we serve refugee and immigrant women. And actually, we don't really serve them, we work with them. So, connecting with, investing in new American women so that they can really feel like they belong here. So, they haven't just been resettled here and now they're existing. We want everybody to feel like they really are belonging, putting down roots, thriving for generations to come. So we do that in a variety of ways, but that relational focus is really huge for us. Recognizing that we have this need for community, right? So if we don't have that social network, we're not going to feel like we belong. We'll just feel like a guest, right? And we don't want folks to feel like that in the space in which they live. Um, so we partner with New American Women. Um, and we have a couple different programs. Our probably biggest program is our Concentric program. And what that looks like is new American women of 8 different language groups, each leading a cohort of women for a full year. So they are building relationships with each other, they're connecting each other to resources, opportunities, helping each other reach the goals that they've set for themselves, and also covering monthly topics. So, financial literacy, education systems in America, healthcare, women's health, nutrition, those types of things. So, they follow a curriculum throughout the year, discuss those topics together, but that relationship focus is huge. Um, and then during their time in the program, each of those women also gets partnered with a woman who has lived here longer. So often someone who's lived here their whole life. And that is so they can form those cross cultural connections as well. While they're connecting in their cohorts, they're also bridging that cross cultural gap, um, which then transforms the social landscape already existing here in West Michigan. So that cross cultural connection piece is also really central to what we do.
Okay, so I'm struck by two phrases in what you said. The new American woman isn't a phrase I've heard many times in the
Okay.
past. Is that something that's adopted across the piece in America or within your kind of organization?
That's a really good question. I had never heard it before Treetops either. So I don't think it is widely across America. So thank you. I should explain that. We kind of use that phrase to be inclusive of refugee, immigrant, asylum seeker. There's all these different categories, if you will, of
Yes.
folks who are coming into America. And we work with all different women from different backgrounds. So New American kind of just captures all of those.
Okay, tell me a little bit more for the benefit of our translators as well and anyone listening to this about the focus on women. No one's going to dispute that it's a key focus, but what is behind the decision within Treetops to bring women together, women's leaders, women's collectives?
Yeah, great question. Um, it really just was born out of a need that our executive director saw um, of women across the board really needing to find belonging and wholeness, and especially within the refugee and immigrant community. a lot of um, there's just a lot of need for community. A lot of the women are either home with kids and not really getting that opportunity to network at a workplace or those types of things. Um, so just seeing the need, I guess, really is what that was born out of. But then
Mm.
also the leadership skills that the women do all bring to the table, and their their skills and their background that aren't being utilized for whatever reason, whether it's um, they are at home with kids or their educational background didn't transfer here to the US, their credentials didn't transfer, so they're still trying to find their way in back into the things that they were trained in and love to do and their skills there. Um, and then the language barrier is huge, right? So all of these different barriers to accessing the opportunities and the community that they're wanting and craving, I guess.
And I can imagine as well that, there's the visible burden that they bring of having to look after the kids, keep the family together. But also, I imagine a fair amount of inherited trauma from the men who could have come over as well, find themselves in difficult situations, maybe take that out at home because there's a lot of stress involved. And so I imagine there's a whole bunch of emotional issues as well that women need to support each other around.
Yes, that can definitely add to it as well. And just the cultural norms of the women are the caretakers, right? A lot of times they don't see themselves as leaders, even if they really are, right? So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
So you mentioned
shifting.
the language barriers just now. So what are the key languages that we're talking about within your 8 communities?
Good question. So they shift a little bit from year to year depending on which populations are coming and which populations we're able to find a concentric leader in. But a wide variety. We've got this year, for example, we have a Ukrainian group for the first time and a Dari and Farsi group for the first time. Um, this coming year, we're going to have a couple Spanish speaking groups, one specifically for Venezuelans and one for Cubans. And we'll actually have a Haitian group for the first time. So that's really exciting. But the kind of standard from year to year we've always had, those languages would be Swahili, Somali, Kinyarwanda, Nepali. Yeah, just a variety of more Eastern African countries, and then
Sure.
some Asian
Yeah.
countries as
I
well.
would imagine that just from the list you've just given me now, that makes you a lot more linguistically aware than your average American or British person who are not particularly attuned to languages outside the ones that are the obvious major world languages. You seem to have quite an encyclopedic knowledge there
Yeah.
of, language. Like Kenya Rwanda isn't one that most people would cite immediately. Okay.
Right.
And
Yeah,
tell us a little bit in that case about the work that we've done with you and how has that helped in terms of fulfilling that mission that you've described?
absolutely. It's been incredible. I remember the first time our executive director was like, "Hey, check out this website and whatever translation we have right now, like send it there." And I was like, "I see pro bono in the name, but it certainly cannot actually be free." And she was like, "No, it really is." Um, so we have a huge variety of languages being spoken, right? So, and we don't want to put all the burden of translating documents onto the leaders because our concentric leaders all are part time. A lot of them either have another job or are home with kids and just do this on the side because they're passionate about their communities. Um, so we can't ask them to translate 4 documents every time the program year kicks off or whatever the case may be. So we have member contracts that all need to be translated into all of those languages. We have pre-program surveys, post-program surveys. Um, when the program members get matched with their cross-cultural partner, we have those partners sign a match contract, just saying what they're each committing to in that friendship, in that partnership. So that needs to be translated. So your organization has been honestly life changing to be able to just send all of those off and say, we need 8 different languages of these. Can you help? And
Yeah.
you have always been there. They've always come back. So it's been huge to have all of those available in the languages we need them in.
Well, it's great for us to hear because at the end of the day, a text that comes to a translator's computer is another text. And it's very important for us to be able to see who are the beneficiaries at the
Mm-hmm.
end of that chain, the people who benefit from having that text translated, because often in the commercial sphere, you might end up as a translator asking yourself, what change am I really making in the world by translating, this document about shoes or this toothpaste advert. Whereas when you explain to us today, what is the real impact on these women's lives of having one of the language barriers or one of the barriers to integration removed, and language obviously is a huge barrier for many people, then it really puts it all into perspective for us and helps and will help us in the future as well, mobilize even more translators to help this kind of initiative.
Absolutely. Yes. And to piggyback off of that, um, we have another program called our Collective Care Program, which is peer-based support groups run in a variety of languages. That's just run in 5, so not the full 8, but 5 languages where the facilitators, that's their first language, and they're facilitating these support groups in that language. So we've got like member guides for those programs as well that we will eventually want to have translated as well. And that will be, like you said, it's not like a toothpaste ad, it's wellness, mental health related curriculum, basically, that these refugees and immigrants are working through with a trained facilitator. So, in their first language. So, truly life changing, right?
Great. Well, it's great for us to be able to support an organization like that. And I know that you're quite invested in what we do because you've written to me before about the newsletter, for example, that we put out every week. We've had lots of very productive dialogue over the months. So let's hope we can continue providing the same service to you. And it's been great for you to come along today and tell us a little bit more about what you do so that we can all understand and put even more energy into that in the future. So thanks very much, Marianne.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I appreciate it.
Okay, bye bye.